I just saw that. Hi family, Dr. Hooten here at Hooten Family Healing Center in Dallas, Texas. Well, it's a great month. We're in the middle of breast cancer, or it's just started, right? The Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So for this month, what I'm going to do for you every day, if you're part of the office, you'll see newsletters around the office. I'm going to post these online if you want to find us through various social media outlets. And I'm going to do as many videos as I can throughout this month to help us gain control over this horrific disease. You all know this. You all know the statistics. Cancer is growing and growing every year. More and more people are getting this disease. And all the stats you see coming from the cancer industry are really a farce. If you go back just 50 years ago, less people were dying from cancer than they are today. This war on cancer has failed largely because of two things. Number one, the system doesn't work. If it did work, we would have the lowest cancer rates on the planet. And number two, more importantly, is that you and me and all of us, we're not told to take responsibility over this disease. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to avoid this thing, if you want to not get it, or if you get it, if you want to get rid of it, you have to take responsibility. Now, don't sit there and think that I'm blaming you. Some of the things that cause cancer are out of our control. For example, we have a lady under care who cakes on the perfume all the time. Well, actually, I'm inhaling that, when she comes in here. So I know that through all the years of study on cancer cells and how they developed it, perfumes actually contribute, so do colognes for that matter, contribute to cancer. So throughout the month, we're going to go through details on how to actually prevent this thing. And the first step is taking responsibility and learning and understanding what cancer is. So I found an article this morning published, and it's stored in the National Institutes of Health, the National Medical Library, and it's all about how hormone therapies like estrogen therapies, the birth control pill, testosterone, progesterone, those type of things, how those, if you take those, you actually increase your risk of getting cancer. Let me say that again. Hormone therapies, if you take them, you are increasing your risk of cancer. And a lot of you may have heard something like that, like estrogen-sensitive breast cancer receptors, that kind of thing. Well, what this article was saying was that if you increase your risk of cancer by taking these hormone therapies, it stands to reason, and it's true, that if you stop those hormone therapies, your risk of cancer goes down. So here's, in one article, it said that something that we do, right, causes more cancer. And there it is. Maybe the doctor gave you that. Maybe you have gone and searched for it. Especially ladies, if you go through these hot flashes, I can't imagine. I get it. Now, on the same article, it also talks about the genetics of cancer. And it starts talking about how there's nothing you can do. It's all in your genes, in your genes, in your genes. And I'm reading this article and I'm thinking, man, how confusing is this? On one hand, we know that it's due to things that we are doing to our bodies. And then on the other hand, we're told there's nothing you can do. It's your genetics. And really, it's very confusing. And I think cancer itself, if it was a real person, it would love the fact that we are confused. So I'm going to try and unconfuse this. I'm going to try and clarify a lot of this. Now, just so you know, my wife and I, we went through a battle a couple years ago. Mish was really sick. I don't know if you know her. She started having seizures, and we couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. We were trying to take responsibility, and in the middle of going to these different doctors, and obviously we're going to go to a more natural-minded doctor, we had this lady do some tests, and she looked at me in the face and said, "You have breast cancer." And, our first thought wasn't like, woe is me. It wasn't like break down in tears. We were literally relieved to find a starting point. Then it was like, okay, now what do we do? How did we get here? What did we do? We took responsibility. And Mish will tell you that. We were already living a healthy lifestyle. We ramped that way up. And we found out a lot of things along the way that really simplify this whole cancer thing. By the way, she's fine. The little lump that she felt is gone. I mean, we haven't even discussed going back because there's no need to. She is doing fantastic. And if you know her, she's really, these last couple of years, even gotten fitter and fitter and healthier. So I want to go into how a cancer cell develops. So the one part about the gene thing, and this is something that's relevant for the rest of the month and for the rest of your life. There is a genetic component to cancer. But genes are not a curse. They're like a light switch. It's only going to come on or off if you're flipping the switch. So our genes, most of the genes that you have in your DNA, most of the genes that we have in our cellular structure are there to help you adapt. For example, if I'm eating a lot of crap and a lot of sugar, I'm going to get diabetes. Those genes for diabetes are going to activate and I'm going to get sick. So your genes are there to help you adapt. And that's, I can go into all the science behind that. Just understand that's how your body is made. And that's part of the beauty of the machine. So you're going to respond, your DNA, your body is going to respond on what you are doing. Okay, now specifically when you look at a healthy cell, okay, healthy cell here, obviously these are not healthy cells or cancerous cells. The one thing I want you to remember today is that part of your genetic structure includes this gene for apoptosis. That's what A stands for. In a healthy cell, when your cells divide, okay, so let's say this is the mother cell and makes a daughter cell there. When a healthy cell divides, the gene for apoptosis is activated and this cell, the host cell, actually dies off. Your body will recycle it. Some people call it autophagy. Whatever the case is, this gene is actually doing that and the whole cell will die off. That leaves this new cell room to thrive and room to survive, and it carries on through its life cycle, reproduces another cell, so on and so forth. If you have done something to create a cancer thriving environment, again, we're going to get into all that this month. What is it that you're doing that causes this? This is what happens to a cancerous cell. The structure has changed so much that this gene for apoptosis, the gene is turned off. So what you're left with is a cell that doesn't die. It stays living. And then it reproduces another cell that stays living because that gene for apoptosis is turned off. And this gene is turned off. So imagine if we just keep drawing these cells here. If this whole whiteboard was a human body and these cells keep producing and reproducing and reproducing and reproducing and there's no cellular death, eventually these guys crowd out these guys. And that is why people die from cancer. It literally is your healthy cells, the rest of your body, starves to death because the cancer cells are crowding you out. So we're going to go into a little bit more this month about the behavior of a cancer cell. Most importantly, what is it that we are doing that creates the environment so that that gene is turned off, that these cancer cells thrive and survive. And a lot of the things we're going to cover are simple, but I would encourage you to tune in, share this with people. 31 days of newsletters that I'm going to post online. I promise I'm going to do at least 15 videos, if not 20 or more, giving you more power over this disease so you understand why it happens. It's Dr. Hooten signing off. Listen, if you need any help at all, if you want to get well, where I come into the picture isn't just education. It's the health of your brain and spinal cord. Your brain is in charge of all this, the way that your cells replicate. If you take your brain out, your cells don't replicate anymore. So your nerves even control your DNA and how it's acting and taking in things that you're doing to your environment. So your brain is in charge of all this. Your brain is in charge of trying to get rid of these cells. And my job is to make sure your brain is getting to your body through proper corrective chiropractic techniques. I wish all chiropractors operated the way that we do. Most do not. They're doing some type of therapy, some type of stem cell therapy and that kind of thing. We specialize in getting your spine working. So if you need help, I've got about 400 friends around the country that can help you. If you don't live in the Dallas area, you can find us online. drhooten@gmail.com is my direct email. You can look us up. drhooten.com is our website. Call the office 972-735-9005 and we'll do everything we can to help you. Remember guys, take charge of this. It's the only life you got. God is great. Drugs are bad. You're great too.